question to start with, not an easy question to answer. But since it's an opening remark and an opening question, it would be good for me to state that if you look around the economies globally speaking, and you really want to pick up an economy which has been consistently successful over a long period of time, and has also demonstrated that it's been able to not only just succeed in terms of creation of wealth or in terms of GDP, but to integrate it socially and also demonstrate it by uplifting the standards of living of people. The country which stands out is Mauritius. So it gets a tick mark from, literally speaking, all counts of evaluation, and has been one of the better, if not the best performing economy, globally speaking. Yes, you have to admit it is small. There's no doubt about it. But even if you benchmark it against a small economy, its track record of performance is enviable. And it has offered some of the larger economies a pattern which they can see how they can adopt, also at a larger scale, of course, and see how they can integrate that into their system of working. So all in all, full marks for this economy. And it's been an outstanding performance. That is my opinion. Okay, so you'll have to accept a point of view that a successful or a stable and a strong banking industry is absolutely necessary for a strong economic environment and strong economic growth. If you also agree that the Mauritian economy has been a grand success over a period of time, you then have to fundamentally admit that it has a very sound and a stable banking industry, and which is absolutely visible here. The contribution of the banking industry and its growth in the financial services sector has been phenomenal. Almost all the banks who are present here have been present here for a few years, and some for much, much longer period of time, and have demonstrated the value they've added to the whole economic horizon here, and the contribution they have made both in terms of capital and in terms of the earnings they've made and deployed profits back in the growth, not only of this country and this economy, but in the African continent, and some of them even in Asia or in Europe, as the case might be. So this industry has been the backbone of economic success for Mauritius, and today it is contributing towards Mauritius being one of the better regarded and fundamentally a very strong offshore banking sector, which is obviously giving it a propulsion towards being a global player and contributing to various economies by enabling them to receive capital or formation of capital or by providing debt for economic growth. In the future, yes, I think in the current environment also you will have to admit that in the financial services space, it occupies a very strategic position on the global platform. It is a gateway for capital into Asia and into Africa. And both Asia and Africa have been recipients of large volumes of capital which has flown in from Mauritius to these destinations. You look at the trade agreement which Mauritius has with Africa and parts of Asia. You look at the double taxation agreement, the investment protection agreement. All efforts have been made to ensure that this country and this economy becomes a financial hub towards the growth of parts of Asia and Africa. And it has demonstrated its ability to do that. It has the talent, it has the regulation, and it has the regulators which are modern and facilitating and also protecting the jurisdiction from any adverse publicity or any adverse policies which can damage the reputation of the country. So they've done a phenomenal job around it. So you have no doubt but accept the fact that in the financial services space it has excelled and it will continue to excel. Now coming into the trade hub. The trade hub is an opportunity which it can develop. Obviously it requires connectivity, both air and sea connectivity, and it also needs to have a very large scale availability of infrastructure and labor to make it a manufacturing and a transshipment hub. Signs of that happening in the near future are very visible, and they're visible because of the investment in infrastructure, the creation of smart city, the modernization of the port, the expansion of the airport, the vast improvement in connectivity to travel from and to this country are all signs which are pointing in the direction that it will become an effective trade hub between Africa and amongst the African nations and also Asia very, very quickly. And there are signs for it, and there are enabling laws, there are facilitating government policy which will encourage that. So we can see that trend taking shape. Okay, fintech is a very complicated word to understand, and everybody is talking about fintech. But what is fintech? Is basically the use of technology to deliver financial services products to the global population. That's really what is fintech. It is enabling the access to a larger portion of the globe quickly, more effectively, more impactfully. And therefore, it requires a lot of development. It requires a lot of knowledge about design of products. It requires to have knowledge about the kind of platforms which are needed so that they have the most meaningful impact for the end users or the customer you want to target to. The other thing which fintech is doing, and for which it is to be well regarded, is that it is enabling what we call financial inclusion, getting a larger proportion of the population into the banking system. It is well known that the larger proportion of the population coming into the banking system lays the foundation for further economic growth and a more robust economic growth for times to come. Mauritius, over the last 2 or 3 years, has passed enabling laws so as to encourage the development in the fintech space. So you develop products, you develop technology platforms, you develop delivery platforms, and these could then be used to be able to penetrate the vast majority of the population of Africa and could be made available for use by the diverse financial services in the banking sector so that it enables a faster pace of financial inclusion on one hand, and on the other hand, it makes sure that you deliver all financial products in the most modern and impactful manner so that the customer has an experience that it gets hooked onto that delivery and onto the product which is being offered. So we've seen in the recent past that Mauritius has started its activity around facilitating incubators where you could seed an idea and see how it can develop. It has also led into the formation of accelerators where again new ideas, new hypotheses are developed and brought to a level that they could be launched commercially. All these enabling laws have been passed and they are likely to be amended as we go forward as the industry matures and more products and people come into play in this space. So you have the talent and you are welcoming fresh talent onto this island. You have the enabling laws and you are making capital available to facilitate the growth of this fintech hub or environment or this new initiatives as we may call it. Over a period of time, we are well aware of the fact that Africa needs financial inclusion. And financial inclusion in Africa will come by way of enabling technology which fintech hubs will develop to connect more and more people to the banking industry. We are also ready to admit that to place infrastructure in Africa, which is traditional, that is the brick and mortar branches all over Africa, is difficult. But telecom has already made its inroad, has established its network in all parts of Africa. And all the fintech has to do is develop the telecom connectivity and start offering products to connect the vast population to the banking services. Once that is done, then you will see that the pace of growth in Africa would be phenomenal. But that is the opportunity which Mauritius has. And therefore, it is enabling the environment to develop all these products and the technology platform so that it becomes the hub towards the economic growth of the African continent. So it's in the right direction. Okay, so what AfrAsia has done is it's read a few things and a few trends in terms of capital flow. So we've seen that capital which is entering Africa comes from Europe, US, Asia, and other parts of Africa going to other different parts of Africa. So we have carved out a niche for ourselves that we help in this capital flow. We try to understand what the institutional investor is seeking. What are the kind of products and services the institutional investor wants? And we are enabling that activity is best handled by us. And we are trying to improve constantly. And customer service, customer experience, the enabling technology have all to be upgraded constantly. I would say it's a never-ending marathon. You got to keep improving. You cannot reach a particular pinnacle and stay there and say that I'm the best now. I will never be the best. I can only remain one of the best provided I'm willing to keep changing and keep running. So one thing we are trying to build in our DNA is to constantly improve ourselves. We must understand the customer. We must enable our platforms and our people to service the customer. And the customer expectations are changing all the time. So I have to keep changing my people, their attitude, their thinking, and also keep amending and modernizing my platform to service the customer. So that's why I say a never-ending marathon. You have to keep at the marathon. You have to keep running. Yes, sometimes you can walk and sometimes you can look back. But the day you stop progressing and moving ahead in the marathon, you will be history. So you have to stand and you can't stand today. You have to be able to walk, run, and sometimes look back and run. And sometimes you have to go for a steeplechase. So keep moving. Keep moving. Sustainability is not restricted to banks. Sustainability is a new look as to how the business environment and how society has to behave. I think fundamentally it is now agreed and accepted that you have to make sure that you leave the current environment in a far superior shape than what you inherited. You have to make sure that the generations which are going to follow you have the benefit of an improving environment. Now, if you want to preserve and improve the environment, you have to change the manner in which you conduct yourself. Whether you conduct yourself in office or at home, it's all clubbed together. You have to conduct yourself in that fashion. You have to adopt practices so that it preserves the environment. You have to adopt your thinking and your businesses such that it preserves the environment. What have we done? We have tried to imbibe simple philosophies, simple policies which are easier to introduce immediately. And then we've taken a bold step forward to arrange for summit, a sustainability summit, where we do lots of things which are engineered to facilitate the understanding of sustainability, what it all means, and how can it be converted into adaptive policy in the social framework and in the corporate framework. Then we also bring practitioners of sustainability so that they can share their experiences as to how they led the change, either in a society or in a country or within a certain corporate, to imbibe and introduce philosophies. We now also have new technologies which are environmentally friendly. for example, solar energy, how you can adapt that, how you can access that, how you can finance that. That is what we are trying to do, so that we bring in the forefront the need to change and how to make that change more easily adaptable within the existing environment. That's the effort we are trying to make from here on. See, Mauritius is a great destination and it has one of the best golf courses around the globe, and it is one of the prettier places to visit, both in terms of sun, sand, sea, and the climate. So this AfrAsia Open is the primary use is to position Mauritius Inc. on the global platform as the most preferred destination for tourism. When it is positioned in that fashion, we also then bring into focus the fact that it is a great golfing destination with a number of championship courses. So this tournament brings together, I would say, a perfect private-public partnership. That is, we have the government and the private sector coming together to position Mauritius as the most favorable destination for tourism and also for golfing. Along with golf, this enables us to position this island as a sporting destination. That is all an effort to create an identity for this destination. Once the identity is created for tourism, the benefits automatically flow because the island has a very robust financial services center. It is established as an offshore financial center. It becomes a place for visit. It becomes a place for relocation. It becomes a place of choice for transferring your wealth, managing your wealth, maybe conducting your businesses over a period of time. So collectively, we are very privileged to position this island so that the economic benefit from this activity percolates to all segments of the economy and all segments of society and helps us in building our brand.